Yesterday, we got a new look at Star Wars Squadrons with a cinematic short movie, kinda like the amazing shorts we're used to seeing for the Old Republic. This new story follows Imperial pilot Varco Gray during a dogfight over the planet Varco, home of an Imperial dockyard. As their retreat is ordered, Gray turns back to attempt to save one of his squad mates, which is against Imperial regulations in many stories. Those who fall behind are left behind. He fails to save the TIE bomber, whose call sign is Titan 3, opening up the space for our character in the game, and he is left behind himself by Titan Squadron's flagship, the Overseer. He hides from the New Republic in the debris, but is discovered and chased into the planet's atmosphere, where he evades and destroys his pursuer and waits to be rescued. I'll put a link to the full cinematic in the cards and the description, but I want to talk about a few things connected with this. There were some new additions to the official databank about Squadrons, along with an article all about the short on StarWars.com, and I also wanted to show some of the gameplay mechanics that the cinematic highlighted. First, let's talk about new lore, and again, I'll link to these new articles in the description. Varco Gray is one of the Imperial pilots you will fly alongside in Star Wars Squadrons. He started his career as a police officer on Parkella, fighting to keep order in the face of corruption and injustice. In time, he joined up as an Imperial TIE pilot, seeing the Empire as the only hope for a chaotic galaxy. Beating the odds to survive battle after battle, much to the relief of his husband Emery, Gray's skills and experience eventually earned him a promotion to Titan leader. Over the years, Gray has wrestled internally with the Empire's methods, but he's seen too many TIE pilots sacrifice their lives for Imperial ideals to reject them now. I think we might have caught a glimpse of his internal conflict near the end of the short. He reflects on the words of the New Republic pilot claiming that the war is over, but Gray disagrees. I know we've seen a ton of Imperial defection stories in Star Wars, but with 5 pilots, it seems inevitable that one of them might turn. The fact that we're getting a spotlight on Varco before the game comes out makes me think he's a likely candidate. The article on StarWars.com discusses how this is one of only a few canon stories focusing on the Empire as protagonists. It's a difficult thing to balance, presenting the fascist war criminals as sympathetic. I'm definitely interested in seeing how the game handles the Imperial side of the story. I think keeping your Imperial character on the losing side for once, and maybe watching their friends swap sides, would be an interesting new twist on the defection tale, if that happens at all. But let's move on to the Overseer, an Imperial-class Star Destroyer from Kuat Drive Yards, currently assigned as the flagship of Titan Squadron. It won distinction at Pothor and the Battle of JL, where the Overseer managed to destroy several enemy Nebulan B frigates despite being heavily outnumbered. Recently, the Overseer responded to a New Republic strike against the Imperial dockyard at Varco. Though the Overseer was severely damaged in the battle, it was able to throw off New Republic pursuers and return to search for survivors. Now refitted and fully overhauled, the Overseer is ready to return to the front lines. The Overseer will likely continue to serve as our Imperial home for the story mode of Star Wars Squadrons. Varco, the planet in the short, is a resource-rich planet in the mid-rim known for its massive fjord lands and orbiting Imperial dockyard. Once a pivotal waypoint for the Imperial Navy at the height of its power, after the Battle of Endor, the Varco dockyard fell to a surprise attack by the New Republic, despite a valiant defense by the ISD, Overseer, and Titan Squadron. I find it interesting that this planet would get a databank entry just for this cinematic. We haven't heard about this as a map in the game at all, but when we first saw an X-Wing and TIE Interceptor weaving through the canyons, my first thought was that I hope it is. It looks perfect. The StarWars.com article does confirm that the game will reference this short at the very least. That leads me to believe it's just a small mention of the battle at Varco and the loss of the dockyards and maybe the former Titan 3. Or maybe the first post-Endor mission could be search and rescue for Varco. I'm not expecting anything too major, but I'm always a fan of little connections like that, finding rewards to taking in all the content surrounding a project. The short was really cool with what I thought were some very nice touches, like making the New Republic antagonist as faceless as possible. You can't see his eyes through the visor. It makes him feel more like a predator than a friendly pilot like we're used to with that faction. I also like that he calls Gray an imp. It reminds me of the pilot slang from the old X-Wing books. I would love it if ships in the game get referred to as eyeballs, squints, dupes, and so on. But now I want to shift into some of the gameplay mechanics the short included. Varco takes note of his ship's system monitor, where you will see your hull integrity and overall health. I don't recall the monitor being that robust as to show you exactly where your ship was damaged. It's more of an overall, you're in the red kind of thing. As Varco attempts to make it back to the Overseer, he switches all power to engines and then boosts his way home. Swapping between ship systems is a big part of Squadrons. TIEs only have weapons and engines, but to make up for their lack of shields, they get an additional gameplay mechanic. You can instantly dump all of your power from one system to the other to overcharge it. So Varco basically does that to give himself an instant boost. Normally your engines or weapons need to charge up over time, but the Imperials have the ability to do it very quickly, but the downside is you will be unable to fire during that time. The radar is another system you'll be using in every single ship, and what we see in the short was very accurate to what I remember. As far as I know, the game does not allow you the ability to just shut your ship off and spring surprise attacks, which would be cool, but there are ship components I think you can add that will remove you from radar for a short time or make you more difficult to detect at longer ranges. We get a couple interesting looks at the targeting computer. Obviously, you can target and attack enemy ships, but we also see Gray target the missile that gets launched at him. You can do that with any missile. Is your wingmate under fire, you can target the missile, chasing them and shoot it off their tail. It's not easy, but you can do it. We also see Varco use a countermeasure that makes the missile turn around and go after the pilot that originally shot it. That is a countermeasure available in the game, if I'm not mistaken. Right after that, we see the TIE Interceptor do a big U-turn drift, kind of like Poe does in The Last Jedi, and that's yet another maneuver you can pull off in the game. So while this is a story-based cinematic meant to help introduce us to the world of Squadrons, the short is actually very indicative of things you can expect to see in the game itself. But that's all I've got for today. I am still so excited to get back into this game with all of you, and I've got big plans for it. I'll be streaming it here on YouTube and over on my Twitch channel, like a lot, so I hope you're excited for it too. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.